Welcome back to the Managed to Win podcast. Today, we're talking about employee referral programs. Recently, David wrote a blog post about this called Pay a Bounty for Superstars, in which he talked about employee referral programs and made a list of a few different ones at different companies. Dad, what is an employee referral program?
Well, basically what we do is not we, but many of our clients will pay a recruiter, professional recruiter, contract recruiter, to find people for their organization, because right now it's a very difficult job market. So you've got openings on your team and it's difficult to find a good performer and especially a top performer or a superstar. So what we're saying is that one of the tools that too many people overlook is giving your employees an incentive to go find people. Now, one of the stories I love to tell is of Scott Young over at PennComp. He's in Houston. I talked to him years ago. And at that time, he was offering his employees a $6,000 bonus to go find people for his company, to network, talk to their friends, talk to their peers. He also was an Anderson or some other type of consultant, and he had 500 of his peers in his network, and he extended the same bonus to people in that network. So basically what an employee referral program is, that you are encouraging your employees to network through their contacts to find candidates who can fill openings in your company, who will fit with your culture, have good skill sets, be a good match.
Sounds like a good thing to do if you want to reduce the burden on your HR team to find and fill different positions.
Well, that's right. And also the HR team has to filter through a lot of resumes that really are unqualified. And keep in mind what you're doing is when you go to a recruiter or you go to an employee referral, a lot of times you're finding someone who was not actively looking for a new opportunity. So the things that HR deals with, even if you even have an HR department, are resumes that are coming in. They're people that are looking. Okay. But a lot of top performers are not looking. So when you hire a recruiter, they find people who aren't looking. And when you get your employees motivated to talk to their friends and ask their friends to talk with their friends, and they talk with their peers and family and whatever, you find people who are top performers who are comfortable where they are. But if they had that right opportunity, they'd be willing to have a discussion and consider something new. So you actually uncover some people that you would not find otherwise.
Where do your thoughts lie on the ethics of that? My first instinct is to think about how easily people are motivated to jump from one job to the next. I believe in the United States, the culture is to take the best opportunity you have. There's not a lot of employee loyalty in some places. And I know in other cultures there is, where particularly in some Asian cultures, they tend to stay at their jobs for longer than we do. That's the first thought that comes to my mind is, are we doing something unethical in reaching out to our friends and kind of poaching them from other companies?
I don't think it's unethical. I think the whole discussion about how to establish a culture where people are fully engaged and thriving is a totally separate discussion. And that's incredibly important as a leader, that we want to establish that type of culture. I can tell you that every person I'm coaching right now who's not an owner is getting calls from recruiters just about every week, calls or emails, encouraging them to consider a new opportunity. So the thing about employee loyalty and people jumping so fast, I think employee loyalty is actually stronger than what people think, because at the moment, there's so much activity going on where people are being contacted about other opportunities, but they're staying in their current role. I think that engaging your employees is a never-ending battle. I want you to feel like you're doing meaningful work and you don't want to consider another opportunity. Now, I'll give you something you didn't ask, but since we're on the topic and you talk about ethics, What happens when your top performer comes to you and says, hey, I took another job. They're going to pay me 50% more than you're paying me. Well, let's not make it that radical. Let's say they're going to pay me 20% more than you're paying me. And I get to do this really cool stuff. How should you respond? We're talking about ethics here, as well as leadership and company culture. How should you respond?
I don't know.
I mean, here it is. I mean, you're devastated because you're going to lose this top performer. And in the scenario I laid out, they're going to get paid 20% more than you're paying them. And I would hope that you're paying them a competitive wage in your mind at that point. And they're going to get to do some really cool new project. So the first thing you got to do is stay calm. I mean, this is a top performer. There's somebody who believes in your company. There's somebody who believes in you. That's great. Then you have to make a decision. Do you simply wish them well, ask them how you can support them on this career move, which is what you have to do if you can't hold on to them? Because you always want that person to be a positive reference for your company in the future. Because they're going to go out in the marketplace and they're going to talk about you. And if you end the relationship badly, that's just not a wise move. The other alternative you have is you can say, well, 20% more, you're going to do this cool project. You know, you can decide, well, maybe I want to compete for this person. Can I give them an equally cool project that maybe I don't have them on today? And is there a way I can increase their pay without totally, causing problems with my compensation plans and equality of compensation with people by basing it on performance or doing it some other way? Could I make this happen? Or maybe actually the market's changed and I've been underpaying them in some way. Is there a way I can try to keep them? Because there are a lot of counter offers going on these days. And so the people who say, I'm going to leave, can sometimes be talked into staying. And that can be a good thing. Sometimes it's not a good thing, because if they've already made a decision to leave, even if you talk them into stay, somebody has planted the bug in their mind that they can move on and they may continue to look.
That sounds like such a frustrating situation to have one of your top performers say they're going to leave after you've probably spent months or even years of time developing them and working with them.
It is frustrating, but you can't be all about me as a leader. Okay. So what you've got to do is the relationship is most important. So you've got to maintain the relationship. You've got to thank them for letting you know. You got to work with them to transition things well. You've got to wish them the best, stay in contact. I mean, you have to also think they may go to this new place and they got sold a bill of goods and they may want to come back. So here's a top performer. Why do I want to burn a bridge? I want to be nice. Let's work this out. I'm really sorry to see you go. This is a bummer. But I can understand how you're tempted with that situation. So how can I help and maintain the relationship? It'll come back to you. It works out.
And maybe if you have a good employee referral program, they'll refer somebody to replace themselves.
That's right. And you've seen that in our plan, that we recommend that. One of the lists, when you build a talent community, so a talent community is people that you can contact and say, here, we have this opening. Please let people know in your network if you know anybody who might be interested. And that's what Scott's doing over at PennComp. He's got 500 ex-consultants, that are in his network. I mean, that's a huge network. He lets them know, hey, this is what we're looking for. Let me know. And he maintains good relationships with, a number of those people, or as many as he can. And so you would ask an ex-employee or even a superstar you interview who doesn't accept the job, but you established a good rapport with, hey, would you be in my talent community? Would you, just so I can let you know when we have other openings, because although this didn't work for you right now, I'd love to have you refer other people to us, or maybe something will change in the future and you want to come back to us. So can I keep you apprised of what we've got going on? Because we're going to continue growing.
Yeah, no, it sounds great. It sounds like you've got some good examples of other employee referral programs here. Salesforce has happy hours where they have get-togethers where employees can invite people that they want to refer to the company. I mean, sounds like there's lots of different ways you could have an employee referral program.
Well, there are. So before we dive into some examples, let me mention something. So you can't just organize an employee referral program and announce it and walk away and do nothing. It's like any initiative in your organization. You need to put together the program as a team, not operating in an ivory tower and then bring it down and say, okay, here's what we're doing from now on. Get the team buy-in, get everybody involved. Here's how we're going to do it. Here's how we're going to go about it. And then you got to work the program. So you have to work it so people are engaged and people are encouraged to find candidates for you. And by the way, who has to be a role model for your program?
Well, it sounds like you do.
That's right. If you're going to say this is our program, you better be on that list of, oh, I referred this many people, or I found this many people, or I added this many people to our talent community. You have to be a role model for what you want others to do. And you have to be aware of some people that are more extroverted are going to be better at going out and talking with people. People that are more introverted, they're going to be a little bit more uncomfortable on that. Doesn't mean they can't do anything, but in some cases, you may not be able to motivate someone to participate in the program. That's okay. I mean, everybody has different strengths, and you don't want to force somebody to do something that's uncomfortable. But hopefully you can get them aware of it. So if something drops in their lap, they're at a party and somebody says, yeah, I got to find a new job, that they don't just zone out and say nothing, but they'll say, oh, my company's looking for someone. That's great. That's great. Those things will happen. So you've really got to work the program. So the examples I gave in the article are showing how companies do this, the way they work their programs. They do it creatively. And you brought up the Salesforce one with the happy hours. Okay. I'm not a big advocate of booze, in the company because of the liabilities. Somebody comes, they drink too much, they go get in an accident, it's not going to be good.
Right.
But I know this is common for a lot of organizations. So they do these happy hours, and what they do is they make it easy for their employees to invite people to join them. So come on over, we're having a happy hour. We're just an opportunity to meet some people over here, whatever. And we're going to have good food, good drink, we'll talk about whatever. And they make it easy for employees to invite friends, people they meet at networking events, people they meet at trade shows, to come over and just get introduced to their company. So that can be a very effective tool.
Yeah, that sounds like it'd be helpful for some of those employees that maybe are not as outgoing or not people. They would, I can imagine introverts would struggle with being a great referral source, just because introverts tend to have smaller numbers of closer friends and smaller networks.
Well, that's true. But the other thing to encourage your people to do is you may not invite someone who is a candidate, but invite someone who's got a network. And some introverts have friends who are extroverts. So, or meet an extrovert. It's just like, have them invite that extrovert, have them invite that person. Maybe that person is going to know someone. And so this is just an investment. And if you notice in the article, I don't know what the time frame is, but Salesforce has paid their employees more than $5.5 million in referrals. So apparently the program's working.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it.
Yeah, and they're having a lot of fun doing it. So that's the point.
That would be fun, especially if the company, if I was working for a company like that was doing that, if they set up if they did it well, where there's a good space, there's, good food, there's lots of places. It makes me think of companies that have ping pong tables or some fun games and stuff. That would be that would make it easier.
Well, that's right. Or if you think of one of your favorites, Patagonia. Okay. So if Patagonia organizes an event that has to do something to help the environment, okay, or an educational film on the environment or whatever, that's an opportunity to invite candidates.
Yeah.
or people who may know of candidates. And so you're doing something where you do an event that relates to part of the mission of your organization. So you find people who are like-minded, and they're going to be passionate about what you do, because at Patagonia, 10%, what is it, 10% of our profits or 1% of our revenue or something like that goes to environmental causes. So it's like, yeah, hey, I'd like to do that. And that can be really effective.
Yeah. Yeah. So does it have to be the leader or the CEO that starts an employee referral program, or can it be anyone who's in the company or in the HR department or in sales? Or
Oh, it's a good point. I mean, anybody can start it, but obviously if you're going to pay out some money in referral bonuses, somebody has to approve it. So it depends on the size of the organization.
Gotcha.
You know, Ford Motor Company, the CEO is not going to approve the employee referral program. Somebody else is going to set it up, and where the budget comes out of. But your entrepreneurial organization that's 30 employees or less, probably the owner's going to have to approve it. You get up to 100 employees, maybe people have budgets by then, and they can figure it out.
Right.
But getting the right people on your team is super important, and employee referrals is a piece of the puzzle that you really need to play on.
Yeah. What's the benefit of an employee referral program versus other forms of recruiting or hiring?
Well, one of the benefits of employee referrals, it's really a good question, is that oftentimes you get somebody that somebody knows. So like I'm working on our Hire the Best system right now. We sell that great system, and actually we provide a sample employee referral program as part of it. But we're updating it. We're doing all these massive trainings we're going to videotape as part of the program. And I just forgot what the question again.
The question was, what's the benefits of an employee referral program compared to?
I just zoned.
Yeah, no,
sorry.
it's all right. Compared to
one of the benefits is,
other ones.
So I'm diving into the interview piece. One of the biggest challenges when hiring someone is getting to know the real person versus the person that's presenting themselves in the interviews. And there is a certain amount of what I call first date syndrome that goes on in the interview process. Everybody's on their best behavior. Everybody who's interviewing is on their best behavior. Everybody who's doing the interviewing is on their best behavior. And as interviewers, we really have to know this person. So we still go through that process with people who come in through the employee referral program. One of the benefits is that somebody says, hey, I know this person, so I can qualify how they work. So we had a person who's in our certified leader program recently had an employee say, hey, this guy at my past employer is, I was talking with him about what we're doing here. He's interested in interviewing for a position. Well, that means that guy had worked with this other person for, I think, a year or two. So they can give you actual feedback on how that person behaves on the job. What's their work ethic? How do they handle themselves soft skill wise? What's their skill level? That type of thing. And you actually have it confirmed by a reliable resource and a person who's going to be on that person's team and doesn't want to recommend someone who's got some real issues, because that's going to be a problem.
Right. So as opposed to the alternative, some of these other candidates might be looking for work or coming in, you're kind of flying blind with any random responder to a job ad. Well,
that's right. And when you're dealing with contract recruiters, they may or may not be totally candid with you about behaviors of the candidate, because they only get paid if they make the placement.
That's a good point.
So they will withhold information, some of them. The challenge with recruiters is integrity can be a moving line.
Right.
And it's a difficult business to be in. Many of them have high integrity. Many of them have not so good integrity.
Right.
So they're like, well, that's the employer's thing. They got to figure that out in their interview process.
Yeah.
It's like I was helping interview for a client, I don't know, a couple months ago. And one of the questions I ask is, okay, well, if this worked out and we made you an offer, when would you be able to start? And the guy said, well, be candid with you and confidential. I'd leave today. I mean, I just hate it here. Okay. Well, that tells me that if my client hires this person and they're not happy, they could leave instantly and leave my client in the lurch. They have no integrity about saying, I'll give 2 weeks notice. So immediately that candidate was no longer a candidate for my company. Well, my client. I told my client, I said, the interview was whatever, but I would not hire him because of this.
Right.
And he immediately agreed. Now, a recruiter may not tell you that because they don't earn a dime unless they close the deal. So that's a concern. So employer referrals give you an inside track if they are someone the person has worked with. That's particularly valuable. Or a personal friend, although then you've got this friendship dynamic that may come into play in the workplace, which I don't think is bad. You think of Becca, now they've been on our podcast, Mike and Sherry E-Step down there in the Atlanta area. They hire a lot of people who are referred by existing employees. They have family in their organization. They have friends in their organization. They break all those rules. And you know what? They're growing like gangbusters. And it's working out.
Yeah,
those
family and friend connections can create some pretty strong bonds, I can imagine. It's instead of just someone coming off the street that you don't know, new employees who were referred to the company by an existing employee probably feel an obligation to their friend or the person that referred them.
Well, they do in the beginning, but you have to remember, with the friends and family thing, you also have to be very careful about the emotions involved. And you have to make it clear to all the parties that, look, if we're going to move ahead and you're going to join the team, your relationship with this other person has to be the most important thing. So if something's happening in the work environment and there's a problem, we want your relationship to always be strong. Not something that happens in the work environment, or if there's something that's happening between you is causing friction in the relationship. So that has to be understood up front, and how you're going to resolve that. And you have to also have the courage to recognize this person's a great friend, but boy, if I worked with them, I'd hate him.
Yeah.
I remember years ago, we rented my mom's house that she owned to two women who were best friends. And within 3 to 6 months of living together, they hated each other. It's just a very different thing. You can be best friends when you're not there day to day.
Yeah.
But it's a different dynamic. And so whether it's your friend or whether it's a family member, you have to be realistic. Okay, what's going to work? What's not going to work in this situation? And I have had clients that have done that. They've thought, this person is a family member, and they've had candid discussions with me about, Dave, what should I do? Here are the positives, but I've got these negatives that I'm concerned about. And in some cases, the decision has been, it's better I probably don't have them join the company. Because although there's some positives, there's some other negatives there, and I don't want to go there.
So how should people start? Where should they start if they want to create an employee referral program? Your article is called Pay a Bounty for Superstars. Should they go and read the article first?
Yeah, I'd start with the article. I think the article runs you through some different options and talks about some key points. And I think that can get you going, give you some ideas. We do offer an example program as part of Hire the Best. And that's part of that whole program if you want to go there, because this is just one piece of the puzzle of hiring. But I think it's an important piece, particularly in today's tight job market. Let's get people working it. But once again, I'm going to go back to one of my earlier points. Don't announce an employee referral program, post it on the wall, and then forget about it and then complain. Well, no one ever refers anyone. Well, when's the last time you talked about it? How many people did you refer? How are you managing your talent community so you're keeping these people informed? That's another piece of the puzzle, is the talent community.
Right.
So your people go out, they talk to somebody and they say, well, I'm not really interested, or I don't know of anybody that's interested. You want to give them the ammunition that then they can say, well, can I at least add you to our talent community so we can email you once in a while, maybe once a month, whatever, about our openings and what's going on at our company. And that's an important piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, it sounds like an employee referral program is just one part of an overall hiring plan for a company.
That's right. That's right. I mean, hiring is super important. I mean, Jim Collins talks about getting the right people on the bus. And the interview process, how you go through that whole process, which we teach a really good process, if I do say so myself, is really important. But you've got to get the right person in the funnel first to talk with. Otherwise, you can't qualify. I mean, when you go through qualification, you're not going to get anybody coming out the other side.
Right. Okay, cool. Anything else you wanted to say about employer referral programs?
I want to go back to one thing, because some people probably rolled their eyes or threw up when I said Scott Young pays $6,000 for a referral. Most of the employee programs I see pay $500 to $1,500 for a referral. And the key thing is the amount is paid 90 days after the person starts. And the reason for that is that if the person fails within the first 90 days, hey, we gave it a try. We lost money on the thing because we tried with the person, but we recognize it didn't work out for them. We wish them the best. They moved on. And the employee really doesn't deserve the reward. And if the person is hired and they last more than 90 days, but then they fail or they get hired away, that's a management issue. And the employee should get the referral reward. So some companies, what they'll do is they'll give a minor reward. Like, let's say I'm going to pay $1,500 for employee referral. And when you add up all the costs of hiring someone, $1,500 is nothing.
Yeah, it's pretty minor.
It's very reasonable. But maybe I give a $100 gift card after 30 days. If the person hasn't totally, sunk in 30 days, give the employee a little perk. Say, hey, thanks for the referral. No matter what happens now, at least you got $100 in your pocket, type of thing. And then later on, I'd give them the full the $1,500. So ultimately they get a little bit more. That's all fine. But I did want to talk about the amounts and when you pay them, because that's kind of a critical factor. And you make certain everybody's aware of it. Some people are very competitive about it. Some people will keep track of it, who's bringing in what referrals. You also need to consider the talent community piece. If you think back to the old days of recruiters, you call a recruiter, they go to their Rolodex. Most people don't even know what a Rolodex is now, but a Rolodex was a collection of business cards. And you go to the Rolodex and you would recruit from that Rolodex. Well, now you go online. But if you can build your talent community up to 50, 100 people, 200 people, 500 people, where every month maybe you're sending them something and saying, hey, here's what we're looking for. Here's what's going on with the company that's exciting. Please let me know if you have anybody who wants to join our talent community or who would like to come in and meet with us. Boom. And then when you have that talent community, think about once a year doing something of value for them. I mean, if you're just going to send them some information that's of value, like how to do something, maybe that's once a quarter. But maybe you have a reception or you have a happy hour like Salesforce does. Hey, we're having a happy hour for everybody in our talent community. Come on over. We're going to have fun. We're going to have games. We're going to do this or that. Entertain them. Say thanks. Don't just always be asking for help, but say thanks. Give them something of value in return.
Sounds good. You talked a lot about the Certified Leader Program. So to wrap it up, do you want to mention that we have a new semester of the Certified Leader Program starting soon?
Yeah, next one starts July 1st. The program's been super successful. People love it because it's a combination of one-on-one coaching over 6 months and also group training. That's remote group training that I do on 12 key disciplines of leaders. So many leaders are promoted into leadership roles with no training nowadays. A friend of mine who's a great senior consultant of leaders is about to train 120 leaders, and only 6 of them have had any leadership training prior to the training he's going to do. Think about that, 5%. So it's something to keep in mind. We pay for technical certifications. We do other types of certifications. Whether you have an existing leader who you feel could be better, or you've got a new leader that's just promoted into a role, why not put them through a certification course, 6 months, train them on stuff. They can get input on real stuff that they're working on today, real issues with people they're managing. And they come out of it very strong. We have consistent testimonials. 100% of the people that have gone through the course, to my knowledge, recommend it to other people. And you can see the testimonials online. So they can contact us with any questions.
Yep. You can check it out at www.managetowin.com. Click on Certified Leader up in the top navigation and give you more information. I think that wraps it up for this episode. Dad, thanks for all the advice on employee referral programs.
Okay. Thanks, Jeff.
All right.